Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Travel and Tourism Podcast, my first season. I had the pleasure of working with today's guest in Club Med Cancun in 2005 with Hendel Duplessis. I knew him as a circus geo, but his first season was as a set designer in Cancun in 1998. I did not know that about him. In December of 1997, an ad in the newspaper caught his eye, and that is how he found out about Club Med, and he applied. Like most geos from Montreal, he only planned to stay a short while, but when you're from Montreal and winter's coming around, like my guest and me, that short stay can turn into 8 years very, very quickly. He worked from 98 to 2006 in such villages such as Eleuthera, Hualtuco, Veradero, Turks and Caicos, and my personal favorite, Lindeman Island, Australia. And get ready for this, people. This is huge news. In the 2 years of this podcast, he is the first and only guest to do interviews in both English and French. That is right. And we're going to be releasing both these interviews for you on the same day. So a huge thank you to my guest today for taking the time to do this. Who is this incredible guest? Who is this bilingual hunk? Well, please help me welcome from La Belle Province, Montreal, Quebec, François Tiger MacKay. Tiger, Street Fighter 2 reference. Hey, Tiger, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Greg.
Oh, I love saying your nickname. I love it. Well, yeah, so let's get it out. As I said, finally, after years of asking, you agreed to help me out here and, to be the first ex-geo to do an interview in English and French. So really, huge thank you for that. Really, because I know I'm asking a lot.
Interesting experience, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah. I hope you're sitting comfortably, buddy. We're about to light this fire. Shall we get into it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I believe you told me, before Club Med, you were working in design and construction, right? And in Montreal, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and I think you were looking for something different or something new, and you saw an ad in the local newspaper.
Yeah, well, basically, I was like in between two jobs, and like trying to figure out what to do next and stuff. And I'm just like, looking at the newspaper, and all of a sudden that little ad catch my eyes, looking for set design and Caribbeans and stuff. Oh, I said Caribbeans sounds good. So I just applied, and it happens pretty fast, as a matter of fact. I applied like in November, got a call in December, an interview and stuff, and just like I knew I was going away just a week before Christmas, 97, if I remember well.
Okay, now hold on a sec before we get to that. Now, do you recall your interview? Was it in Montreal?
It was in Montreal, actually. Yeah.
Were there a bunch of you that went?
That's a little far. I can't recall. I remember there was like we were in an office and there was like a few people and stuff like that. And I remember, doing the interview for set design and stuff. And there was a few people down there, but I can't even remember where it was. I know it was in Montreal, but where it was exactly, I can't remember.
What kind of questions do they ask you to prove that you know how to do set design? Because I have no idea what I would ask you. So did they ask you, or they just believed you?
Well, they kind of believe me, I guess. And I had like like a little portfolio, like doing like and saying that, because I was really honest, because I knew it was set design for, shows and stuff like that. I never did that when I was in Montreal. I mean, the design I was doing was most like, commercial designs and, boutique and stuff like that. So it was like a very different area. So that's why I apply at first, because I was, okay, that's another experience, which is, set design. We'll see how it goes. So it's just like, I guess it's a matter of personality. I was like, I guess I sell myself pretty good, and they just like, okay, we're gonna trust you, and I think you're gonna do good stuff. So that's pretty good. That's basically how it goes, And it's like they ask me questions like if I had any experience in doing like like deco for shows or theater or anything like that, and I said no, I don't. But I have like I can build stuff, that's for sure, and I mean I'm willing to try it, So, and I got the job, so I guess they believed me, I guess.
What did you know about Club Med prior to applying? I guess you saw the commercials on TV, but did you know anything
Well,
about
that's it. The only thing I knew was like, they had people working down there called geos, and that was it. I had like zip, never been before or anything like that, and so I had no idea whatsoever what it looks like, what was the job, what was the involvement, and I had no idea, no idea. I didn't know anything about it. I never been to Club Med before that anyway, so I just like, the only thing I knew was like from what people were telling me about, and basically it's you got people who are like dancing around and call GOs, and you got GMs that are guests, and that was it. So that's the basic idea that I had. That's the biggest idea I had of Club Med. That was it.
What do you remember about arriving your first week? Like, do you remember taking a plane, like getting to the village? Do you remember, did you meet Kevin Batt right away? Because I know he was your chief of village. Like, what do you remember about that first week?
Well, the first week I got there, I don't know what to expect whatsoever. So I get there and it's like, it's temperatures super cool. Beach at Cancun at that time was like absolutely gorgeous. Like so I get to the village and I just like and there's like a couple of guys in the what we call the animation team at that point, because set design is part of the animation team. And there was a sound engineer, a guy from Toronto, Marty McKinney. You probably know him. He's a legend in Club Med for a little while. And so this guy is down there. He knows, he knows his way around in Club Med and stuff like that. And he kind of helped me out. Like he was calling me. It's funny. He was calling me the deco guy. It's like he said, "Here you go, deco guy. Come and build me this and build me that." So he was like kind of helping me out and stuff. And it was like one of the first contact that I had in Club Med. And the guy was like a party animal and stuff. So I was like started on the on the right foot, I guess. And then I met Kevin down there. Kevin had he was there as chief of village for a little while before that, I think. So he's my first, chief of village as the, so he was, pretty cool experience to, as a first chief of village, you get Kevin back. It's not bad.
Well, yeah, he's another Montreal boy like you, right?
Oh yeah, he's a guy from Montreal. That's another thing, that in the animation team as well. There was like Marty was a Canadian, and there was a sound engineer also from the light engineer. Sorry, was from a guy from Arizona, and like it was a pretty nice crowd. And the guy who was like the set design down there was a French guy, so really French, like a French accent and stuff like that. So it got so much easier for me, like the language barrier for anything like that. And I learned. I mean, at that time, the theater in Cancun was not anywhere close with what it was when we were there. It was like a very old-fashioned way of the all the backgrounds were like dropping from the ceiling and stuff like that with pulleys and stuff. It was like like a real theater. So I learned the set design right there. And for me, my idea at that point it was like, okay, I'm gonna get another theater and it's gonna be exactly the same. No, didn't happen like that. But it was a nice experience. I mean, it's like I was there for 3 weeks, and the funny part is that I'm there after what 2, 3 weeks. Yeah, I was there for about a month, and after like what 2 weeks or so, or a week and a half, 2 weeks, I'm playing volleyball on the cement court and jump to the net and stuff. And coming back down, I step on somebody else's foot and twist my ankle. So for about a week, I was in crutches and stuff in the village. So Kevin Bath was like laughing at me because he said, "Here you go. You're coming for first time job in Clement, and then you're already on crutches. It's like hello." But that was quite a experience. Like running around the village with crutches was like amazing.
Just one moment, Tiger. So your first season's Cancun. Now, is this where you got the nickname Tiger, or was it in a later season?
The nickname came in a later season, actually.
Where in the world where were you when someone called you Tiger? Was it
I was in
Watuco?
I was in yeah Watuco. in Mexico.
Okay.
What
All
was
right. We'll wait till we get there till you tell me how,
it?
you got the nickname. So Cancun, first season, you're pretty lucky to be sent there. Maybe you didn't know it at the time. Big singles village, big sports village. Do you have any memorable, appropriate, interesting stories from that first season?
Well, one of the memorable one that I have from Cancun that first is the night that I left. I mean, it's like the night before I left, we had a little bit party, like the guys want us, kind of
Yeah,
celebrate a little
as you
bit.
do, right? As you
Nice.
do.
Yeah, that's it, normal stuff. But my luggage is not ready whatsoever, and so I can't remember what time my flight was, but it was like not that early in the morning, but my luggage is not done. So I'm going back to sleep that night. I'm going to sleep that night. And I'm just thinking of saying, oh, I got time tomorrow morning. I'll do my luggage and stuff like that. But I woke up late. So I grab everything that I have. And I'm so late that I grab everything and I just throw all my clothes in my luggage and stuff, get to the reception. And the guy from traffic is looking at me. He said, you're gonna miss your flight. I said, no, I'm not. So I rushed to the airport, get into flight, and get to my flight and stuff. The funny part of it is that when I got to Montreal, the guy at the custom is asking me, he said, where you were coming from? He said, Cancun, Mexico, blah, blah, blah. Then he's putting me aside and he said, okay. So he opened my luggage and everything is like upside down. It looks like all already closed. It's not, but it looks like it. So the guy is looking at me over his, just over his glasses, and he's like, okay, it's good. You can go. He didn't want to put his hands in there. It was like all messed up. I said, after all, it's not a bad trick.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
make sure that they're gonna go through your luggage.
If you're smuggling contraband or something, then just
Uh,
yeah, just get a Geo's clothes who's been at a resort for
that's
6
it.
months.
That's
Okay.
it.
All right. Now, here's something interesting. You get lucky again because you go to Luther, Bahamas. I never got to work with a Lutheran. You get to work with Mike Coltman, the chief
Yeah.
of village from England, correct?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. He was well known as Mr. Animation, so it was like
And
twice he's
you're still set designer, so I guess if he's known as Mr. Animation, then you gotta bring it, I guess, right?
oh
You gotta
yeah,
bring the stuff.
you got to bring the stuff, and like the guy was like he was on top of it. He had his own shows, his own stuff, and the only thing he was asking me is to fit it properly, and every prop had his has a place on the set and stuff. And he was like very very on top of that. So the only thing he was basically asking me is to complete the deco and just like add on a little something there and there, like just refine the whole thing. But he was like, he was a Mr. Animation, and he was like, you got to deliver because even during the rehearsal, we had rehearsal at night after everybody was gone. That's because he didn't want anybody to see. Any guests were allowed to see, watch, or whatever. So the rehearsal were like late at night, like 11 at night or something like that. And it was like you do it again until it's perfect, even if the shows is running for. So he was like very, very professional on that side. So quite an experience, like, and it's the Bahamas, beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful village. Too bad it's been destroyed, but it was a beautiful village.
You remember seeing the pink sand beach for the first time?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Actually I still have a bottle of sand somewhere that I picked up because I was like, I can't believe this is Boston. The sand is really, really, really pink. You look at it, it's like, there's like all the little parts of corals in it that makes it pink. And I still have a bottle somewhere with the sand, that sand in it. So,
And did anything interesting, memorable happen to you this season? Was this a
oh,
family village, singles
it,
village? What
it
was it?
was a family village,
Okay.
exactly. Actually, it's my first year I came in contact with circus, actually.
Okay,
And
good.
I
I was
did,
going to ask you that. This is
yeah,
where you
I did.
started then.
Yeah, that's where I started. Not flying trapeze though. I started down there. I was doing single trapeze the first time. And the first time I did single trapeze in a circus show, was in a Lutra.
Well,
So
can I
it's
ask you,
way
Tiger, what
back.
what 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 drew you to What drew you to circus? Like just because it was something you'd never done before, or something you always wanted to do?
It's well, no, actually, I discovered circus in Club Med. I never did it before, and the first time I came to see it, I went to see it. I was looking at it and said, "Man, I want to try that. I want to do that. Looks like fun." I was like attracted to it, like pretty much instant, and it was like, okay, I want to try that. I want to try that. I have to, do it. So the first time, can't remember his name at the time. Who was the chief of circus down there? He was a tall guy, an American guy. So I started like, slowly trying to, do single trapeze with them and practice a little bit in the theater and stuff. And one day they asked me if I wanted to do it in the show, and that's how it all started. But I didn't have time, being in a village with Mike Colton and a set designer, you didn't have that much time aside to, do flying trapeze and stuff like that. Because at the time that they had the session of flying trapeze, I was working, putting up the sets and stuff for the night show. So basically, I didn't try flying trapeze until the next season, which was another village in Mexico.
Right. So we're going to jump to Waltuco because I am sorry, I'm Tiger. I'm really dying to know how you got this nickname. So if you wouldn't mind telling us, hopefully this is an appropriate story. I should have asked that first, darn it.
It is
But
an appropriate
how
story.
did you get? And by the way, Joker and I don't know, maybe we didn't tell you, but we loved your nickname because we played Street Fighter 2 for so long when we were
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, you told me that the
And
other day. I
yeah,
didn't know about
and
that.
of all the nicknames, I love saying Tiger because in my head I was saying Tiger, Tiger, Tiger. So how did you get the nickname?
When I was in Watoko, I was the chief of animation at that time was Luke Neal, Gus. Everybody
Yes.
knows him as Gus. And this guy is very creative. So one night he was arranging a party for the Geos. Like the Geos, he had like 2 weeks. One day it was like boys' night for the girls, and the next day, the next week or the week after, I don't know, it was like night for the boys. It's like the boys are organizing a night for the girls and vice versa. So we had that party, and it was a geo party. It was like for the staff. So we do all kinds of stuff. We decorate the village. We decorate the disco so much. The disco is so much decorated that we had to get the people inside the disco by a back door that nobody goes there, so nobody had an idea of where they were, and you couldn't see the wall, so they couldn't even when because they were blindfolded when they get there, and they're going behind the bar and stuff. It was like such an imagination guy. And so we get there, and we had all kinds of activities all day long for the girls and stuff like that. And at night it was like a party in the disco, and we had a Chippendale night for the girls. So me and a couple of other GOs, we did Chippendale show for it. But I did the Chippendale show, and I brought Lulu, who was the chief of village at that time. I brought her on stage, and I did a lap dance for her.
Wait a minute. Hold up. As I did a year with Lulu. Lulu actually let you do this?
Well,
Like, did she know?
she
Did she know that? Did she know
no,
that
she
you were
didn't
gonna?
know. She didn't
Uh,
know. She
uh,
was there in the audience, and I grabbed her. I said, "Come on up." And
wow.
she came, and I sat her on the chair,
Okay. Well,
and I
hold
did
up.
it.
Did you know which way this was going to go? Because, like I said, I worked with her for a year, but I wouldn't have done
Yeah, yeah.
that. But it worked out for you. Okay. Sorry.
It
Go
worked
on.
out for me. So
Okay.
it was like,
Continue, please.
so we do the whole party and stuff like that, and everybody's like cheering and stuff. And the next day, I mean, everything was done. Everything was fine. We were laughing and stuff. And the next day, I'm walking into the circus shack because I was circus geo at that time. Well, I was set design and circus geo because I was doing both jobs. So I get into the circus shack, and the girl who works with me in the circus team, which is her name is Holly Rowland. She's looking at me. She said, "Woo, man, you let the tiger out, yeah, last night." So she's looking at me. She said, "Wow, Frankie Tiger." So it started. only because of that. So everybody was kind of calling me Tiger after that. So I guess she spread the word that she called me Tiger and made me laugh. So everybody started calling me Tiger after that. It would go away after that season because I wasn't going into another village, but it didn't because there was like two guys, two GOs named François in the village. So at that point, it was like at that time we had like a geo program and stuff. So Francois is doing this and Francois is doing that, and so it was too confusing which Francois it was. So I said, okay, keep going. I'll go under Tiger, and he keeps his name. So the nickname lasted after that for the rest of my career down there.
Okay, so
But
prior
that
to
was
the
like, it's that's the funny story about it. It's just that I did a lap dance for the chief of village Lulu, and then the Tiger nickname came up.
yeah, very brave of you, my friend. Very brave of you. Okay, my hat's off
Well,
to you. Okay, and my G string. So okay, so prior to you doing Chippendales, I guess people thought of you as shy. I'm guessing then, right?
well, I was like, I'm 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 kind of not shy, but I'm like stay on
Now,
my place and stuff.
okay, when you did the lap dance for Lulu, because I do, you had very unique. There's something unique about your act in that you had a whistle. Let's just say on your on your briefs. Did you have this yet? In well,
No, I
Tuco, or
didn't
that
have.
came later. Okay,
No, it came after that.
because when you broke that out, okay, I was on the floor. I'd never seen that before after almost 9 years in combat. Okay, all right. So Watuco, and then you stay. Well, okay. So your next village is Veradero, and you're only one of maybe like three XGOs I've had on this show that been to Veradero.
Yeah,
What did you think of that village?
Varadero was beautiful village, and it's beautiful beaches. Oh, also, it was
This was
also
wait,
my first.
sorry, Tiger. This was not the opening of Cuba, then, right? You arrived after the opening.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like after. I think it was like 2 or 3 years after the opening,
Okay,
something like that.
okay.
I
Sorry,
think it
go on.
opens in '98 or something like that, and I was there like in
Okay.
2000 because I was there for New Year's 2000. So Y2K, I
Oh,
was there.
Y2K. You got any
Yeah,
Y2K
I was
memories? Were
Y2K.
people afraid to fly the next day? What
Oh my
happened?
God, my God. That's I I don't really remember any, like big thing
Well, no,
about the
because nothing happened,
Y2K.
right? It was all people
Exactly.
worrying for nothing, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
true. I spent the Y2K down there in Cuba. It was very good village, very nice village. The chief of village was Saverio Piselli.
and here you're
That
chief of circus, right?
I
How did that
became chief of circus down there.
how did how
I
did that
went down
happen?
there. I went down there as a circus geo. All of a sudden, the chief of circus, who was a Brazilian guy, had an argument with the chief of sports and stuff. He decided that okay, I'm out of here. I'm
So
leaving.
you got the spot.
Yeah, so I got the spot. I went to the chief of sports, and I said, okay, you need someone to take care of that team, and just like manage the whole thing. And okay, so let's go. I mean, I'm the one who's more mature about these guys, and so let's go. Give me the job, and I'll do it. So he gave me the job, and that's how I became chief of circus. I also became at the same time the catcher because before that I was flying. I was a flyer, and I became the catcher because he was also the catcher of the team. So we end up, you know, guys showing big tricks, but nobody to catch them. So I took big steps and became the catcher of the team and stuff at the same time as I became chief of circus. So it was like, boom, here you go, buddy.
Yeah. Well, was there anything different like about Veradero in terms of other villages, like things you could do there you couldn't do, or it was just the same as any other resort?
It's pretty much the same as other resorts. It's just that obviously because of politics and stuff like that, you had to be very like straight on the shows. There's stuff that you couldn't do and couldn't say or anything like that, or make jokes about anything. Because that's my first my first contact with communism, basically,
Yes.
because
Yes.
and it's the Club Med down there was managed half by a company, a local company, which is the government basically, and Club Med. So there was like, for me, it was a little bit difficult for some reason to get, like stuff that we need, like chalk and tape and stuff like that. It was like always very difficult because you had like level of authorization to sign, to get signed and stuff, to get to order and stuff, as opposed as any other village in the American zone where you can basically get it from Miami. It was a different story down there. So, but it was like, you could manage around it once you know how it works. It's just fine. It's like it's a little bit different because you had to do with it. And it's also a village where there's a lot of French people who are coming over there. Very, 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 very few Americans, obviously, but mostly French people. So I met a lot of people from, Paris and stuff like that, people like that. So it's a very different clientele. The food was absolutely gorgeous because at that time it was like a 4 star. It was a four trident, and the food was absolutely incredible. The lobster night was like, even me, I never seen any so much lobster on one table at the same time. It was just like crazy.
Funny or interesting stories that came out of Veradero?
Varadero, there's like it was a different kind of funny. We had like we had a pretty good team. The guy, there was a
Was there
guy.
anyone that was on your team we might know? Like any names that we might
Not
recognize?
really, because one was Italian, the other one was Brazilian, and I had a guy from Israel at some point.
What about
I
the
had a
whole team?
guy.
I mean, like the whole team. Like, was anyone with you that season on any service that we might know? Like a Red or a
No, because
Freddie or
most
a
of these guys, the only one that there was another Canadian guy down there in the Varadero, which is Alex Leonard, if you know him.
oh, I know the
Uh,
name. Yeah.
yeah, Alex Leonard, he was down there with me. That's where I met him first time. But the rest of the team was like mostly locals and people from France or Belgium or something else. It
Okay.
was mostly European geos down there.
Fair enough.
Only two of us, two Canadians or three Canadians. That's it down there.
Okay. Well, let's move on to Ixtapa because I guess you had an ingoing and outgoing chief. You had Teach Bayer and then Miriam,
Yeah,
whose name I cannot pronounce. Do you know how to pronounce her last name? I don't want to destroy it.
Cara Wanisian,
Wow.
Miriam.
Very nice, my friend. Okay. I
Had
can
a
never,
year to practice then.
yes, that's true, I guess.
Because Ixtapa, I was there for a year and a half,
Year
basically.
and a half. Wow. Why,
Yeah,
why
I
so
did.
long?
I did 1 year. Well, the
Hmm.
the village in Ixtapa at that time, I don't know if it's still like that, but in Ixtapa, I was closing in September until November. So yeah, like 2 months who it was closed. So I did a whole year, and in September closed the village and everything, and that's when the September 11th happened. I'm in the village. We're closed since about a week. We're just finishing stuff, packing and everything. And September 11th happened. So we were stuck down there for another week and a half. I was supposed to leave the week after, and I left like 2 weeks later than that. And there's nobody in the village except, very, very, very few GOs who are still there, but we're stuck there. And when I came back after September 11th, I was in Montreal waiting to get another assignment, another village. And, you know, how it was, you remember that time. There was nothing. So Miami office called me and said, okay, you want to go back to Ixtapa? I can give you another 6 months in Ixtapa. So I went down there for another 6 months after and did the reopening. So I opened Ixtapa at the beginning of my first season because it was closed before. So I open it, close it, reopen, and I didn't close it because I did only 6 months. But I know that village like on my finger. It's a very big village. It changed a lot since then, but it's so that's why I have like two chief of village different. But it was an interesting experience in Stapa because of all that stuff. It was like pretty interesting. It's also where the village where I had like different groups. I had like I can't remember the name. What did they call it? It's the gay group where like
Oh,
you
you
go.
had Atlantis or Olivia were the
Yeah, I
story.
had both actually.
Oh,
I had
okay.
both down there. Over a year and a half, I had both. I also had the sober week down there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The sober week was like quite an experience because we had no alcohol whatsoever in the village. But honestly, that week, I think I had the most fun party ever in my life because these guys and girls, were all there because they don't drink anymore. They're all, AA and stuff like that. And they know how to party without any alcohol. And I met some people, who went to hell and came back to their life. And it was like people were like really, really, really fun people, like people who were like living for it, real stuff. I also had a funny story that I had. Well, not a funny story, but yeah, well, yeah, there's part of it that is funny. We had the week where we had at that time the CEO of Club Med was Philippe Bourguignon,
Yes.
and he came for a couple of days in the village. So we had a big thing. Teach was the chief of village at that time. So we had a big thing, going on. He said, Teach came up to me. He said, I would like to have a circus show, like a special circus show, and a flying trapeze show. And we brought even like a Ragno at that time, who was like working in Sandpiper. He came up.
Yes.
He came to fly with us and
El
said to
Guapo.
yeah.
Shout out El
And
Guapo.
so he came to fly with us and stuff to put up a show, a flying trapeze show, like and a big circus show I created down there. That's actually the first big circus show that I create. Actually, I did one in Varadero, but it was mostly with the animation team. But the one I did in Ixtapa was really the first big one by my home. Like it was like a circus show, but it was like huge. We had deco, we had like palm trees everywhere. It was called the Jungle Show, and it was like basically some kind of a Tarzan story. Philippe Bourguignon was in the village, so we had to do that show for him and stuff like that. It's quite an experience because we also had the flying trapeze show, and we always had, you remember the gag in the middle of the show. So that night we have the gag planned and everything, and but that night he's sick. He's not feeling good, so he's coming to me before the show, like a couple of hours before the show. He said, "Man, I can't do it. I'm just sick. I can't do the gag tonight." But I had a backup plan. I had another guy who was doing it. So I come up to the backup plan, and I told the guy, I said, "Okay, you're gonna do the gag because Alan's not feeling well. He's not doing it tonight and stuff. So we're gonna do the gag, but we'll just do the one you're used to, the one that he pulls your pants and stuff." So the guy is like we're doing the gag and everything. He gets to the gag, but he was not supposed to do the gag that night. So he's like dressed with, his pants and stuff. And he put the other pants, the tear up pants that over it. So we're doing the gag and he's swinging in the air, and all of a sudden the catcher grabs the pants, but he grabbed the pants like every pants, and he's pulling everything. So the guy is like butt naked on the bar, 30 feet in the air, in front of Philippe Bourguignon, the CEO of Club Med. So, okay. But the poor guy was like hanging from the bar, trying to, hide himself a little as much as he can.
Could he put a chalk bag in front of it or anything?
Oh man, that was like I was on lines, of course, and so
Okay.
I'm pulling lines, and I see the guy up there, and I turn around and just look at Chief of Village. He's like out of his mind. He's just like, oh my god, And all of a sudden, I look at Philippe Bourguignon, and he's laughing his ass off. Like, you wouldn't
Okay.
believe. He's
Okay,
like
good. Yeah.
laughing, laughing, laughing. So okay, we're good. Okay, we're good. So I told the poor guy, okay, let go, just sit in the net, my friend.
Did no one
It
grab the
was like,
microphone? Did no one grab the microphone and say, this is just a primer for the Chippendales night after, ladies? No?
it's
Oh,
like, no, nobody,
okay.
nobody thought of that. Everybody
Oh,
was in
okay.
shock.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay.
But
That's
that was like it was a funny moment, but an embarrassing moment for the poor guy. Can't remember his name. He was
well, was it a very cold night? Is that what you're saying? No.
like, uh,
Never mind. We'll move on.
yeah.
Okay. Woo. Okay. All right. Normally, I would think it'd be hard to top that story, but your next village, you go to one of my favorite places in the whole wide world. A couple years after I was there, Lindeman Island, Australia. And not only that, you're there with the one and only Hendel Duplessis from Montreal as chief of village. So you're getting like a double whammy here, Lindeman, and I'm assuming that Australia was the longest flight you've ever taken, correct?
Oh my God,
Do you
for
still
sure.
remember your jet lag? Because I remember my jet lag the first week I
Uh,
arrived. Do you still
oh
remember
yeah,
what it felt like?
I do remember. I
It's
mean, it's just
horrible.
like,
It's just
oh yeah,
horrible.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I did Montreal, Vancouver, Vancouver, Hawaii, Hawaii, Sydney, Sydney, Hamilton Island, Hamilton Island, the boat ride. Oh my God, I
Okay.
came in the village, and I remember the girl who graded me at the airport before the boat. She actually ended up being one of the circus girl, Rachel. And I mean, she was like talking to me, and I was like, my God, I couldn't hear, I couldn't understand anything she was saying. I was so tired and just like I was sleeping on that little boat, Like, so I got there and I get to the dock, and Endel's right there on the dock, and that's where I met him. I heard of him before, but I never worked with him before. That's the first season I did with him. So I'm standing there and looking at him. He's looking at me with his, big smile, and he's just welcome, welcome, Tiger. It's like, and then he's looking at me. He said, "Okay, we're gonna bring you to your room, and then go to sleep, and we'll talk later."
Yeah, it's the
I
only
was
only
so tired,
yeah, it's the
so
only
tired.
village in Club Med where they will actually tell you when you just arrived to go to bed. Like everyone else
Yeah,
is like, okay,
basically,
let's go to work.
basically.
I'll show you where the
Yeah.
circus is. But I forgot to ask you, Tiger, did you request Lindemann or they sent you? How did you get to Lindemann?
I didn't request it. They
You
just
didn't?
like no, I didn't. They just like called me. The human resources called me, said, "Okay, your next village. I have a proposition for you." I said, "Yeah, what it is?" He said, how about Australia, Lindeman Island?" I said, "Let me think about it. How about yes?"
Yeah, yeah.
It
So
was like,
dumb.
yeah, I want to
Yeah.
go. It was
Trick
like
trick question. Hello. Okay.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Is that a joke? No, no,
Yeah.
I didn't request it. I was like really happy to go down there, obviously. And it was a beautiful bit, beautiful.
How long did you
I
spend there?
A whole year, a whole year.
Good,
I was
good,
down
good.
there a whole year. And usually when I did a year in a village, I was always coming back from my vacation, like
Not
what?
this time, my
Not
friend.
this
Not
time. I
where did you
stayed
go?
down there.
Where'd you go on
Oh
vacation?
man. Yeah, I went to Sydney, I went
Hmm.
to Melbourne, I went to a couple of places, and I mean in 2 weeks, two weeks, I think I did 2 nights at the hotel. The rest of it was people that I met in Club Med
Oh,
who told
really?
me, yeah, if you come to Melbourne, if you come to this, if you come to that day, come on us, hook up with us. We're gonna provide you room and board and stuff. And so I had like 2 weeks of sleeping everywhere. The people and some places it was like even I had like my own little house for me. It was like amazing. I met
Okay.
amazing people down
Okay.
there.
Let me ask you this about amazing people because you and I are both Canadian. We're both from Quebec. I always said that I think this is a huge compliment to Australians. I actually think Australians are nicer than Canadians, and we have a pretty good reputation for being nice. But did you find that they were like way nice? Like, did you find that like everyone was so kind and polite the whole time you were
Oh
there?
yeah, there's some people down there that I met, and just to name a few, like Johnny, Josh Payne,
Johnny
all these
Cutaway,
people.
yeah,
Johnny Cutaway, yeah,
Josh Payne, yes.
Josh Payne. I mean, these people is just like it's just. adorable people. You know,
Yeah.
Josh is Canadian, but he's
Yes.
living.
Johnny too.
Yeah, they live down
Yeah.
there for so long. I mean, but they're very, very friendly people.
Yes.
Uh, my team was a very young team down there. It was like, they we had we had some problem for a different reason. They were very young for them, and for most of them, it was their first job out of the house, out of mommy scare. Okay, so you look at the room, it's like, oh boy, very nice people, very nice people.
What do you miss right now about Australia? Is there some? Is it VB? Is it Tim Tams? Is it Bundaberg rum? Is there something like you wish you could go back for just to like? Is there anything that that you really miss now about Australia? Like,
Vegemite?
oh no,
No,
you didn't
no,
try Vegemite. Okay,
I'm
okay.
kidding.
They had it
I'm
out at every
kidding.
breakfast. They had the cat. It was craft, right? So they had the
I know,
jar open at
I know,
breakfast, and I kept putting the cat back
I
on
know,
because that smell was horrific. No
I
offense,
know.
Aussies. We love you, but we don't know how you could eat that. And they eat it from the
I
time
guess you have to
from
be
the time they're
raised on that.
babies. Yes, from the
You
time
have
they're
to be
baby.
raised on that. That's it.
Yes, well they
Well,
were. Yeah,
actually, there's a couple of things that I would like to go back in Australia for. That I mean, the animal, like like koalas and stuff like that. I had like that's the only place in the world that I could have had. I had a
yeah,
koala, a baby koala in my hands, and
yeah.
still have a picture of it. And the kangaroos. I mean, I was like a big fan of kangaroos, and it just like actually when I went on holidays, there was a family that I met, and she said, "You want to see kangaroos? I'll bring you to kangaroos." So she brought me to a park, which is a national reserve or something like that, and I like kangaroos, my friend. Like I wouldn't. I mean, I saw so many down there because it's a reserve, and at certain hours, like at the end of the day, like at 4 o'clock or something like that, they're coming out of the woods and they're coming in like in a piece of land where they eat some stuff. At every day at 4 o'clock, there's like 20 of them, like just sitting there, and they're looking at you, and you can get close to them. Like so, it was like they're still wild animal, but they're like used to see human, but they let you come close, but not too close. If you get too close, they take 2 steps back, and but it's just wonderful. It was like just amazing. I was dreaming of seeing kangaroos. I saw a lot of them. The country itself is basically when I went on holidays, I was looking at it and I said it's basically like Quebec. There's like huge huge piece of land with not that many people. So it's just like if you're going in the countryside in Australia, it's pretty much like going into the countryside of Quebec. Instead of seeing like like a moose on the street, you see kangaroos. That's very basically on the road. I mean, you see kangaroos instead of moose. But it's quite similar at some and very many points.
Yeah. My listeners like probably are tired of me talking about Lindemann, so I'm gonna refrain from talking more. But because we still have to get to Turks and then Cancun where we met. All right. So I think you had a little bit of a break after Lindemann, and then you go to Turks and Caicos with Chief of Village Paul Angus, correct?
Yep, Paul
Yeah.
Angus. Yeah.
You have any JoJo stories?
Ah, I've seen JoJo. I mean, I like any geos that went to church for the first time. I mean, it's like I was looking for JoJo. I want to see JoJo. JoJo is so famous. I want to see him. Yeah, I saw him, and a good, very, very, very good memory of Turks is that's where I got certified the diver.
As
That's
open
where I got
water
my
one,
certification as open water. Yeah.
Patty.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Patty.
Who was the? Do you recall who the chief of scuba was there, or anyone?
Oh my God, can't remember.
That's
Can't
okay.
remember.
No problem.
But
No problem. What you must have had fun
I
in
mean,
Turks, though.
that's the village where I fell in love with diving. It was
Okay.
wow. I did diving once in my life before that when I was on vacation. But you know it is. They give you like a 2 3 minutes course in the pool, and then boom, you're in the ocean, so you don't know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the hell is going on. So you're just like so worried about your own security that you don't even see what's going on around you.
Yep.
But down there, it's just like I did the whole thing, I did the whole certification. So when you get in the water, you say, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Just like, and I can see what's going on. I can look at it in a different kind of way. So it's like that's where I literally fell in love with diving. It's just like it was so beautiful down there. Also, a lot of places a lot of coral reefs and stuff. Really wonderful. I just wish that I did that before I went to Lindeman Island, but I did a little bit of scuba, but not scuba diving. I did a little what's the other one? No,
Snorkeling.
snorkeling. I did snorkeling in Lindeman, but no scuba diving.
Okay. Now let's go to Mexico. So I know we're running low on time here. You
Yep.
pair up with Hendel again. So Hendel actually calls
Yeah.
you and requests you to go to Cancun. Did you
Yeah.
know? Did you ask Hendel, hey, who's on the team there? Or when you got there, you were like, huh?
No,
Look at all
actually,
these
I
legends.
knew.
Okay.
No, actually, I knew who was on the team in the circus team because when he called me, he requested me. He said, "Hey, I'm missing. I need a catcher. You're there. You're not gonna be chief, but what a who cares? Like,
Yeah.
but he said Simon is there. He's gonna be the chief, and you're gonna be the catcher. I said, okay, good. And when I got there, I mean, I start because there's a lot of GOs that are like still in the North American zone at that time that I didn't know, like Joker and all these guys. I didn't know them before I got to Cancun. And when I realized after a couple of weeks the team that we had down there, I said, my God, we have a dream team over here. It's just like, it's a super team.
Had you worked with Red or Freddie before?
No, I
Oh,
never
wow.
worked with Red and Freddy before.
Okay.
So, I met these guys down there, like Pirat, same thing,
Yeah.
Freddy,
Ross Friedman at tennis. And
Russ.
yeah.
I mean, I heard of the names because these guys are like legend. And, but I never worked with them. But the funny story is that I used to hockey, I've been a hockey coach when I was younger, and Freddie was playing for me. Freddie Birmingham, he
Really?
was he was one of my players.
Uh,
When he saw me the first time when he saw me at the we met at the bar and he's looking at me, he said, oh, okay, Freddie. Said where are you from? I said, Montreal. I said, okay. And we start, talking about part of the city and stuff. He said, I'm from Ansick. I said, really? I am too. He said I played hockey until he was a very good hockey player, Freddie. And then he's looking at me. He said, "What's your name? What's your last name?" So I told him my last name, MacKay. Seriously, you don't remember me? I said, "No." I do. He said, "My name is Frederick Birmingham." When he told me Birmingham, I mean, there's not that many Birmingham
oh,
in Montreal and in Ansick, that's the least. I said, "Are you kidding me?" But he was a grown man now. I coached him. He was like, I don't know, 12, 13 years old or something like that. He said,
wow.
"You were my hockey coach." I said,
That's
"Damn."
crazy. I never knew that when I was there.
Well, it's like I just realized that. It came back to
Wow.
my memory that story because it was just like, wow, like
Yeah, there's only one
was it?
mistake. There's only one mistake in that story. He wasn't Freddie at the bar. If you recall, Freddie was brilliant. He had a nickname only in the evening, and it was El Fuego.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you were
El
talking to
Fuego.
El Fuego at the bar. I love that.
It's
That's
true. El
most unique.
Fuego.
No other Geo ever thought to do that except Freddie. Have a nickname, but only at night. Ah,
Only at
brilliant.
night.
So, did you like your time in Cancun? Did you have fun there?
Oh yeah, I had a great time in Cancun. It was like it was my last season too. Well, my last year.
Yeah.
I did 2 seasons. And it was a huge team, a huge chief of village. It was like great village, and we had a great team. We had a
Yes.
great circus team down there. We put up shows like
Yeah. You had
pretty good.
Christy and Simon
Christy,
and
Simon, we had
Lauren.
yeah, Lauren, and I mean we had a pretty big team, and the show was pretty good. Like, remember a couple of things with a couple of shows that we had, and Handel was doing the gag in the show and stuff. And I remember like he was talking with he was always because if you remember well, Joker was animating the was describing the circus show, the
Yeah.
fly show, and they were always making the joke with the chalk and stuff. Like, oh my God, I'm white. And I was like, it was like pretty funny stuff that you don't know if you can do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. The early 2000s was a different time. Right?
Oh man, yeah,
All right.
definitely.
But yeah. So from 98, 2006, you work with a lot of people. Like, if
Yep.
I asked you who you liked working with, like, who did you enjoy working with? Any names come to mind, Tiger?
Oh my God, there's so many names that like if I get anybody out, but it's just like
Yes. Do not send him angry emails, people, if he forgets
yeah,
someone. I just,
uh,
it's just a part of the show
if
where,
I don't mention your name,
yeah,
don't send me angry
yeah,
email.
no angry emails. Okay, please.
Like the
Okay.
guys from like Kevin Bat, Mike Polkman was the chief of village. That's where I'm in Eleuthero back in '98. That's where I met Jennifer Simons, who was like not too long ago in your podcast.
Oh yeah. That was she, and she was choreographer, right?
Well, she came as
Or
a
sailing.
stage. She came
Oh,
as a
that's
stage
right. Yes,
down
yes, that's
there. I
right.
was set design, and she was there with two other
Yes,
people,
that's right.
and that's where I met her. Eric Safranek, and Luke, Gus, Mac, Josh Munden.
Oh yeah, Josh Munden from
This,
Newfoundland.
yeah,
Yeah.
Josh Munden. I worked with him in Watuco. He was down there
Oh, okay.
when I first got there. Randy Hobbs, which I worked in Ixtapa with, he was on my circus team too. From Ixtapa, well, Miriam was something. I mean, I remember being at the bar when the first night she came in, and we got trashed, both of us. The first night she walked in, it was her birthday, and we got hammered at the bar, her and me. It was like
Well,
the
I'm sure
first night.
she was drinking water and she was giving you beer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, probably.
I know a lot of Chiefs did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they still have to work. We
Uh,
know.
there's like next up, Laney Emerson is an American girl, Hannon Marshall, JK, who was my chief of sports when I was in Turk,
JK, yes.
and in
Cancun,
Cancun after that. Billy Avic, Josh
yes.
Payne, Rachel Circus, Rachel Chatwin, Circus Chick, a girl from New Zealand, Chanel, Chanel Combs, he was in my circus team in Australia too. You, Joker, like so many people that I just like Simon, Christy, all these guys, all guys and girls. I mean, there's so many people. Just like, and
I
a
know.
lot of them are like on my Facebook, and like I see what's going on a little bit in their life. And we don't talk every day, but like once in a while, there's a little message coming in, and so it keeps in touch with these people. I know where they are in their life. Everybody got families and stuff now. But, it's been a span of like 20 years now. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. And since
a
you,
lot of things happening in 20 years.
yeah, and since you've left Club Med, what are the three things you miss the most?
Well, I think that probably one of the first things that I met is weather. Obviously, living in Canada, living in Montreal, it's like if you live in the Caribbean and in Montreal, comparison, not too hard to, you know,
Yes, we are recording
weather.
this in February, just so everyone knows. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's a little white out there right now.
it's a little wild. It's a little cold too
Yes.
lately. And well, weather, friendship, basically friendship. Relation with people and stuff. Like there's over the years, I met a lot of people like as guests who were like interesting people where I got a little bit in their life and know a little bit about them the week that they were there and having good a good stories with some of these people, and just like so friendship. Like meeting new people, different countries, different culture. That's very it's very useful to see how people in other countries live, and all that stuff. It's just like as a stuff for personal growth, and that's the best. I think that's the best. It's one of the best experience I've ever had in my life because of that.
Me too. Well, Tiger, this has been amazing, man. And thanks again for agreeing to do this in English and in French because
No problem.
I know it's a big ask, but you said yes right away, even though I was afraid to ask you because that's usually I get no, thank you, Greg. But you were the first one to say yes, and I was so
I'll do it.
surprised. So very
Might be
happy.
easier in French either.
Well,
No?
yeah. Just so you know, people, English is Tiger's second language, so you're going to get to hear me. If you want to listen to the French one, you'll get to hear me mangle the French language. So if you want to laugh, listen to that one too after this one. Okay. So everyone, that was the famous François Tiger MacKay from Montreal, and once again, Tiger, thanks for sharing your story with us here today.
Absolutely.
And we will see you all next week on another episode of my first season. Say bye, Tiger.
Hey, bye bye, everybody.